There is a question that has haunted scientists, philosophers, and thinkers for over 50 years. It is not whether animals feel pain. It is not whether they solve problems. It is not even whether they love. The question is far more fundamental. Do animals know that they exist? We assume we know the answer. We assume the answer is obvious. But every time we think we've found proof, the evidence contradicts us. Because the truth is not what we thought. And the real question is not about animals at all. It's about us. In 1970, psychologist Gordon Gallup Jr. proposed what would become the definitive test for animal self-awareness, the mirror test. The logic was elegant. If an animal can recognize its own reflection, it must possess a concept of self. Gallup sedated chimpanzees, placed a small, odorless red mark on their foreheads, and woke them in front of a mirror. At first, the chimps reacted to the reflection as if it were another individual. But then, they changed behavior. They touched the mark on their own face, not the mirror, themselves. That single action suggested something profound. The chimpanzee understood that the image in the mirror was itself. Over the following decades, a small group of species passed the same test. Chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, some gorillas, bottlenose dolphins, orcas, Asian elephants, and the Eurasian magpie. The list is short. And everyone else failed. Dogs, cats, most mammals, even human babies under 18 months. For a time, the scientific community drew a clean line. On one side, creatures with self-awareness. On the other, creatures without. But that line was wrong. Dogs fail the mirror test completely. They look at their reflection and walk away. By the strict definition of the test, this would mean your dog does not know it exists. But that conclusion contradicts everything we observe. Dogs remember you. They wait for you. They experience fear, joy, attachment, and grief. So what is missing? The problem is not the animal. The problem is the test. Dogs do not experience the world primarily through sight. Their reality is built from scent. In 2017, researcher Roberto Cazzolagatti tested dogs using a different approach, the smell mirror. Dogs were presented with 3 samples: their own scent, the scent of another dog, and their own scent, slightly altered. The result was clear. Dogs spent significantly more time investigating the altered version of their own scent. They noticed something about themselves had changed. They recognized themselves, not visually, but olfactorily. This forced a critical shift in scientific thinking. Self-awareness may not be a single, universal ability. It may be species-specific. It may depend on how an animal experiences its world. Beyond self-recognition, researchers discovered something even more striking. Animals can think about their own thinking. This ability is called metacognition. In 2007, a team at the University of Georgia tested rhesus monkeys on memory tasks. After each trial, the monkeys could choose a difficult question for a large reward or an easy question for a smaller, guaranteed reward. When the monkeys were uncertain, they consistently chose the easier option. When they were confident, they took the harder risk. They weren't just answering questions, they were evaluating their own knowledge before responding. Rats, pigeons, and dolphins show the same pattern. They know when they know, and they know when they don't. This is not instinct. This is not conditioning. This is a form of self-awareness that operates entirely without mirrors. But even with all this evidence, one barrier remains unbreakable. Philosophers call it qualia, the raw, first-person experience of being. The exact shade of red you see, the sting of pain, the feeling of being you. We can observe behavior, we can measure brain activity, but we cannot access what it feels like to be another creature. In 1974, philosopher Thomas Nagel argued that no matter how much we study a bat's brain, we will never know what it feels like to navigate the world through echolocation. The inner experience is locked away. And if we cannot know what it's like to be a bat, how can we be certain there is any inner experience at all in other species? In 2012, a group of leading neuroscientists signed the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness. Their conclusion was clear: the neural structures that support consciousness in humans are not unique to us. Birds, mammals, and other animals possess the same neurological hardware. Consciousness is not a human invention. It is an evolutionary trait. And then there is grief. In 2018, a killer whale named Tahlequah gave birth. The calf died within hours. For 17 days, Tahlequah carried the dead body on her head, swimming across the open ocean. When she grew tired, other pod members helped her. There was no survival advantage, no evolutionary benefit. This was not instinct. This was mourning. Elephants have been observed lingering over the bones of deceased herd members, touching them, returning to the same site for years. Scrub jays remember when they hid food, not just where. Octopuses display distinct personalities and solve complex puzzles. Each of these behaviors raises the same uncomfortable possibility. There is someone home. For decades, science guarded a strict boundary. Human abilities here, animal instincts there, but that boundary keeps disappearing. Every decade, we discover abilities we once claimed were unique to us. Language, tools, culture, emotion, self-recognition appearing in other species. The wall between us and them is no longer a wall. It is a gradient. If consciousness evolved gradually, as evidence suggests, then it is not a binary switch. It is a spectrum. We are not alone at the top. We are somewhere along the same line. So let's return to the beginning. That moment when you look at an animal and it looks back. You hesitate because you don't hear its thoughts. You don't see its inner world. You don't recognize its form of self. But that does not mean it isn't there. The evidence keeps pointing in one direction. Animals may not experience self-awareness the way we do, but they are experiencing something. The question is no longer whether animals know they exist. The question is whether we are capable of recognizing a mind when it doesn't look like our own.